Good morning, my beautiful people. Welcome to today. Today is day 1 of 78, and we are making our trip of 78 days around the tarot. I'm going to spend about a minute, real quick, just doing a brief grounding while I am getting some sage going, and I spend about a minute or two just kind of grounding and clearing the energy of my own space. This is a great time for you to grab your journal, to grab your tarot cards, to grab whatever you're going to be using. If you've got a sacred space, if you've got an altar, you can light a candle. Like, any of this good stuff is good for this initial setup. I'm going to burn some sage here. Sage is cleansing, it's clearing. I always like to kind of start my videos with a little bit of sage burning. It grounds me. It grounds me and it gets the energy in a good place. So there's a little bit of sage. So today, the first card that I have chosen, I chose the first one because we're going on a new journey together, and it seems fitting to start any journey with the Fool. Now, in the description below, I have included pictures of these cards, so even if you don't have your own deck of cards today, you can get started by using any of the 3 cards that I have, keeping a journal, and maintaining the memory bank that we're going to develop as we go through. And that memory bank is this is you, kind of like with every card deck, it comes with a book. This is you writing your own book. You're learning the language of the tarot and the way the tarot speaks to you. So we're going to start today's journey with the Fool. I'm going to show you a picture of the Fool. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Now, you can also see this in the description below as well, but I wanted to make sure that I had the cards tangible because there's something about the tangibility, the holding the cards, the physical properties of it that make it pretty great. So this is the Fool, right? And the way the tarot works is it's an emotional language. It is a symbolic language. So when you look at an image with a tarot card, the way to figure out what it's about is to feel what the card is what it feels like, right? So this is the Fool. And you look at the guy, he is standing at the edge of a cliff. He does not have a care in the world. He has his nose into the air, and he doesn't even realize that he is about to step off of this cliff into the wild unknown. Now, traditionally, Joan Bunning is the first person that I learned tarot from. She actually has a course online, learntarot.com. So you can find these keywords that I'm about to give you. You can find these keywords at learntarot.com. Joan Bunning uses beginnings, spontaneity, apparent folly, and faith as feelings, the emotions that are associated with this card. This guy has no idea that he is about to just step off the cliff, but the energy here is one of care. Like he's got faith. He just kind of believes in the goodness of things, right? It's an innocence. Now, when we look at Benabel Wynn, she uses holistic tarot. She's got a really thick book called Holistic Tarot that's really comprehensive of all the different ways that tarot cards can be interpreted, like from a lot of different perspectives and such. And she says that, the Fool is about beginnings. It's about innocence. And I think she uses spontaneity too. I'll have to double check on that. In the description, I'll have accurate words between those 2 paradigms. So there's a dog there, the dog at the bottom there. This is very traditional. Like when you look at a lot of different tarot cards, if you look at your deck, right, you might see a dog, you might not. But most of the time, that dog is pretty symbolic because it represents man's best friend. It represents having a companion, or having support, or just having that presence. But each tarot reader is going to have a different interpretation on some of that. So that's what's going on right here. But what I also have is I have Ciro Marchetti's Gilded Tarot. And this is the Gilded Tarot Royale, so you'll find there's actually more detail in this card than there is like in the tradition, like in just his Gilded Tarot. It's not quite as detailed. This is the Gilded Tarot Royale. If you happen to download the app, because there is an app with it, it has the detail that these cards have. So this is the Fool also. It's a different interpretation of the Fool. So this time, instead of having the Fool at the edge of a cliff, like getting ready to step off. He's kind of like got his toes in a ring down there, and the dog is kind of floating. There's a mountain back there, so the cliff is still represented, but he's not directly attached to it, right? That might have a different set of symbolisms for you. You know, maybe it feels this particular Fool is disconnected from the actual cliff that he is dancing off of. You know what I mean? Like maybe, you know, for him, this new journey is, it doesn't, you know, it's a little less connected. As you can see, he's got all of the signs of the zodiac just kind of juggling in the background, and the number is 0. 0 represents nothingness. Everything and nothing exists simultaneously in 0. And the Fool, he has all of the zodiac signs because it's still there's still time to manifest, right? So this is the Fool in essence. Now, with those two images, this would be a great time for you to pause the video. Pause the video. Look at your own tarot card, and then in your journal, date it. Write the card for today, which is the Fool, and then spend a couple of minutes, like just writing what you see. Like, get descriptive. Do a little descriptive writing if you have time. If you don't have time, write some keywords, move on. But for those of you who really want to get entrenched with the energy of the card, take some time to just write descriptions. I see all of the signs of the zodiac are being juggled in his hand. I see a crescent moon in the background, the mountains. He's way above the mountains. There's a dog. Just descriptive writing. And as you write the description of what you see, symbolisms will start to come through it. Things will start to connect in your brain as you write that down. There's something magical, really magical about the power of writing. So if you write this stuff down, it's really going to make a difference. So pause the video and make some writing, and then come back to me, and then we'll do the last image here. I'm assuming that you have unpaused the video now. So now we're going to go to the Urban Tarot. The Urban Tarot, now this is wild, okay? So every deck of tarot cards is the artist's interpretation of that energy. So there's going to be some variety. There's going to be the main energy hopefully is captured by the artist in some way, but the interpretation is going to be different. And then that's the energy on the card, or the artist on the card is the art. Excuse me. Let's try that again. Take 3. The art on the card is the artist's interpretation of that energy. So when you look at the card, that is your interpretation of the artist's interpretation of that energy. Do you see what's happening here? So there's going to be different nuances that speak to you, that spoke to them. A lot of the main foundation is going to be there, but there's going to be some subtleties and differences in the way the artist portrays that energy. This particular deck that I'm getting ready to show you, the Urban Tarot, really powerful energy. So I'm going to go ahead and show this to you. This is the Fool. I'm just going to put it up here, and I'm just going to let that soak in for a minute. Look at this guy. Look at the location. He is standing at the top of a tall building. He has 1 foot over the edge. He is looking down. The dog is looking up. There's birds. This is what I feel like when I read tarot for people, and when I get the Fool, one of the things that always comes up is people are like, it's common when people are changing jobs. When people are switching jobs and they've got 10 years of experience working in X and such a field, and then they make a transition to a new field, they beat themselves up because they feel foolish. They feel like they've already got 10 years of experience in their job. They're not incompetent, but they feel that way. They feel foolish, and then they're afraid of making mistakes because it's a new job. You know what I mean? But you can't walk into a new job with 10 years of experience. It doesn't work that way. So there's going to be a lot of, here's a time where you're, feeling like an idiot because you at once knew how to do your job, and now it's a little more complicated. So relating this to Relating this to today's modern times, urban times, and whatnot, sometimes when it is time to start a new journey, right, it can literally feel like you're jumping off a building. It can literally feel like you're making a plunge. And that's scary. That's really scary for a lot of people. And I think the Fool, while it's typically portrayed as a very positive card, I mean, you look at this guy, I mean, he looks pretty carefree, pretty stoked to go off that cliff. This guy, whew, it's a little more intense. There's a little more weight. There's a little more implication, right, when he makes this plunge. And this doesn't mean that he's suicidal. That's not what this means. But it's capturing the energy of starting something new. It's capturing the energy of going into the unknown. Sometimes we feel like we're jumping off a building just to be able to start something new. We feel like our life is going to end when we make that plunge. It's not always the case. But the artist in this situation has definitely made that connection, right? How many of you guys feel that way when you're starting something new? Think about your cards. Think about the interpretation. Think about the first time that this is what I was going to say, and then I lost it. Think about the first time you got a job, your first day at work. Think about entering into a new relationship. Think about your first day of school. Think about the day you're getting ready to leave for a vacation. Think about those things, these new journeys, those energies that are associated with that new journey, that excitement, that nervousness, but that, those jitters, all of that is associated with the Fool. That is the energy of the Fool. And as we can see in these different cards, it can manifest in different ways. It can show up in different ways. But that's the energy of the Fool. So take some time, write in your journal the explanations of Benabel, of Jones, just a couple of words, but then come up with your own definitions as well. Come up with your own description of the card. Feel your own energy of that card. Relate it to your own personal experiences when you felt like you were at the edge of the building, when you felt that you were at the edge of a cliff jumping into something new, when you felt you were going on a new adventure, a new beginning. So like the post, make some comments below, and if you would, it'd be really cool if you're using your own deck, if you put a picture of your Fool in the comments below so that everybody else can get a feel of the many different ways that the artist can interpret the energy of the Fool. I'm sending love and light to all of you beautiful people. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I will see you all tomorrow with day 2, and we'll figure out what that is. Love and light, guys. See you next time.